Hello and welcome. I'm Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top stories that we're tracking for you. U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent says the United States and China are very close to resolving the TikTok issue, but warns that national security will not be compromised. He claimed that Beijing has made an aggressive ask while also stressing that overall relations remain strong at the highest levels. Arab and Islamic leaders warn Israel's strike on Qatar is jeopardizing peace and normalization efforts. They say hostile acts threaten regional stability and undermine prospects for resolution. Qatar's Prime Minister insists Doha will continue mediation with Egypt and the US to end the war. US President Donald Trump is warning Israel to be very careful in its actions against Qatar. He praises Doha as a great ally and describes Qatar's ruler as a wonderful person. Trump also urged the Gulf state to improve its public relations efforts. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, Russian air defense systems have intercepted 6 Ukrainian drones over Belgorod region. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has said that Ukrainian forces have advanced in border districts of northern Sumy region. Polish President Karol Nawrocki approves NATO troop deployment under Operation Eastern Sentry, as Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky warns Russia is testing NATO's eastern flank and offers to teach allies cost-effective counter-drone strategies to strengthen regional defense. Trilateral exercise Freedom Edge begins off Jeju as US, South Korea, Japan boost defense capabilities. North Korea condemns the drills as reckless show of strength, warning actions could bring negative consequences to participating countries. North Korea is declaring its status as a nuclear weapon state irreversible. Pyongyang dismisses US calls for denuclearization as outdated and provocative. It insists its nuclear arsenal is essential to defend against American threats. A vigil was held in Washington honoring Charlie Kirk as US President Donald Trump says the shooting stems from left-wing confirming investigations are underway, while lawmakers and officials condemn extremist violence and highlight Kirk's legacy. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is all set to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on his second day in Israel to discuss the aftermath of the Israeli strikes in Qatar and their impact on ongoing efforts for a Gaza truce. According to reports, the Trump administration was caught off guard by the strikes, with Rubio stating that the U.S. president was not happy about the situation. Despite this, Netanyahu has emphasized that U.S.-Israeli relations have never been stronger. This comes as Arab and Islamic states have held a summit in Doha to show support for Qatar following the Israeli attack. A draft resolution will be considered by heads of state, condemning the attack as a destabilizing escalation. As the summit progresses, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has also urged Muslim countries to sever ties with Israel, hoping that the summit would conclude with measures against the country. Let's in fact listen in now to what the Iranian president had to say. All right, we will tell you what he said in just a bit, but ahead of the summit, Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani has affirmed that Israel's recent attack on Doha would not hinder Qatar, Egypt and the US from continuing mediation efforts to end the Gaza conflict. Let's in fact now listen in to what the Qatari PM had to say.
و یک سری اقدامات عملی بتونیم با همدیگه اگه وحدت داشته باشیم در رابطه با مسائل اقتصادی، فرهنگی، اجتماعی، ارتباطی میشه انجام داد. میشه کشورهای اسلامی ارتباطات خودشون رو با این رژیم جعلی در حقیقت قطع کنن و تا جایی که ممکن.
Rubio's visit comes just a week before a French-led summit at the United Nations aimed at recognizing, in fact, a Palestinian state, a proposal which has been strongly opposed by the Netanyahu government. Well, meanwhile, Israeli forces continue to destroy residential buildings in Gaza City, displacing thousands as an expected ground offensive, in fact, looms. Ali Mohammed Abu Shbak, independent Palestinian researcher, is joining us live from Cairo, Egypt. Thank you for being with us today, Ali, on NewsX World. Let me begin by asking you about these talks that Marco Rubio is going to be holding with Benjamin Netanyahu. How important is this in the context of course, that strike in Qatar and the way forward as well?
Thank you, Uday, for having me. The things this visit, it came at a crucial time in the region, especially after, as you mentioned, that the Israel bombardment in Qatar and after the Israeli preparation for conquer Gaza. So that this visit, it's giving the green light, in my opinion, for Benjamin Netanyahu to move forward his plan and to move forward about the annexation of West Bank. So the situation on the region, it's volatile, and this visit, it came yesterday at the time of Arab summit with regard to Israelis bombardment in Qatar. So the significance of this visit, as I mentioned, it's giving the green light of Benjamin Netanyahu to move forward his plan and to go ahead as America is great and strengthen aligned with Israel. So also this is among of the international condemnation and the global condemnation of the Israelis bombardment, bombardment in Qatar and failure killing. So I guess also they mention and they discuss about the possibility of and the situation of the Israeli captive in Gaza in case what will happen. Especially most of the report warned Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government about the life and the safety of the Israelis captive in Gaza in case they are going to conquer Gaza city. So also among of the displacement, more than 1.5 million civilians from North Gaza to West Gaza to South Gaza. This is on one hand. On other hand, also they mention about peace in the region, which I guess there is no peace in region. According several of time, the Israeli minister, they mentioned on their social media, it will be a regional
absolutely.
war.
But as far as, of course, now the peace efforts and mediation efforts as well are concerned, do you believe that attack in Qatar is going to hamper those mediation efforts or not?
There is no doubt it will impact the mediation between Hamas and Israel, especially Qatar. Got deeply impacted, and the safe of Qatar is now under risk because of the Israeli bombardment. Also, I guess will impact the talk between Hamas and Israel, as Qatar one of the significant mediator between both of them. So one side, on the other side, Egypt also they waged and they released a several of warning to Israel if they are going to do this again, it will be a regional war in the area. So I guess this is it's a very complex and the situation. It's volatile on the region. Maybe it's going to explode at any time. If Egypt now their treatment, their threatening, it will be honest, and they will be fact that will be much terrible. And Benjamin Netanyahu, by the way, he doesn't care about the captive in Gaza or hostages in Gaza. So the situation on the ground, it's not like what we are thinking, because the invading Gaza that will sacrifice the captive.
What is the situation on ground there, Ali, in Gaza now? What about that on-ground offensive? Has that made any progress? Are Israeli troops now closer to actually moving in physically into Gaza City, as Netanyahu wants done as soon as possible?
The thing is, Israel is still in the northern, the border of northern part of Gaza in the Sheikh Radwan neighborhood, and also Jabalia neighborhood. That's make it also that Israel focus on airstrike. Yesterday night, they are bombardment several of high-rise tower in Gaza. most of the civilians, they try and attempt to move and displace from north to south. Situation is completely terrible there. Most of the civilians, they are moving on their foot. So also, also there is a famine in Gaza. There is a lack in medicine in hospital. Today, that the health minister, they are releasing a statement about the lack of medicine, and the several of the injured people, they didn't take their treatment, probably treatment in the hospitals, and the most of the hospitals are flooded and filled with the injured civilians. It's several of things that are challenging the people in north, and now in south there is no space for the people who's moving from from north to south. Also, there is no fuel to move the civilians. There is a little bit of cars working there, and also animal cart. They are serving the civilians on the ground, but on the ground, most of the civilians now, they are taking the street to sleep, shelterless, without any shelter, without any.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Ali, appreciate you joining us with your perspective on this story. Now, meanwhile, United States and Chinese delegations are all set to continue trade talks in Madrid for a second day. The discussions are primarily focusing on trade issues, national security, and the ownership of the video sharing app TikTok. U.S. Trade Secretary Scott Bessent is leading the U.S. delegation, while the Chinese side is led by Vice Premier He Lifeng. At the start of the second day of talks, U.S. Treasury Secretary said that in fact China is approaching the TikTok issue very aggressively, but the U.S. will not compromise on national security matters. He also added that an agreement on TikTok is very close, and even if the parties do not reach an agreement on the issue, it will not impact U.S.-China relations. The United States government, meanwhile, has expressed concerns that the Chinese government could use TikTok to access sensitive data from American users, pressuring the parent company, ByteDance, to sell its American operations. This marks the fourth high-level meeting in the last 4 months. U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent has stressed that ties with China are strong and at their highest level.
We made very good progress on the technical details of the agreement. In terms of the agreement, the overall agreement itself, our Chinese counterparts have come with very aggressive asks. We will see if we can get there. At present, we are not willing to sacrifice our national security for a social media app, and we will see where we get today. I think on the TikTok deal itself, we're very close, or we've resolved the issue. There are a range of other asks that are unresolved.
Jayjeet Bhattacharya, economist, is in fact joining us live on the broadcast now. Jayjeet Bhattacharya, talks, of course, are going to be continuing today between U.S. and China delegations in Madrid. What are the issues you believe, Jayjeet, are dominating these deliberations?
You know, the U.S. has got a very sweet deal from Europe, where they've got applied 15% duty on all European imports, and they've got access to the European market at zero duty. The US would like to replicate that model. So that's one of the biggest issues, and where China feels that's unfair. There has to be reciprocal duties in place. The second large issue is the issue of security. Now, with TikTok being the center of the conversation, it's one of the most unique trade conversations that's happening. Such a conversation did not happen with the EU or with UK, which are the trade deals that the US had signed. Now, what is the problem with TikTok is that it can be used for widespread surveillance and of capturing data and of knowing the details of every single citizen of the US. And that's scary for US because the US itself has big tech such as the Google and the Apples of the world, which they know can potentially be used for the same purpose, and which they may or may not already be using for the same purpose. And therefore, the US does not want China to have a similar tool, and hence the pressurization that China must let TikTok go and let it have an American owner. In addition to the background of this conversation that's happening between the US and China, there has been significant global repercussions because China has not been able to enter or access the US market. there has been widespread dumping of Chinese products in the rest of the world. I mean, products like beta naphtol, glass fiber, they have been dumped into countries like India. They've also tried putting a choke on minerals that they control. We're all aware of the rare earth metals that the China has put a choke on, which has really brought down the automobile industry of the US. It's impacting the industries in the rest of the world. It's impacting the automobile industry and the two-wheelers in India. Similarly, the choke on germanium tetrachloride is impacting the fiber optic industry in India and globally, and so on and so forth. Poorer quality products like insoluble sulfur is being pumped in the rest of the world, including India, which is leading to accidents happening because the tire burst. So those are the background conversations that are going on, which makes it very, very important that that the China-US trade deal happens so that things go back to normal and China does not aggressively dump products and goods onto the rest of the world. And that makes this conversation very significant.
How much so is TikTok dominating the discussions, and how close do you believe they are to, finalizing that, pricking issue, because the deadlines on TikTok have just been, lapsing and being extended continuously?
See, from the language used, it seems that the US does not seem to be very hopeful that they will force China into selling off TikTok, because the language gives an escape route saying that even if that does not happen, the US-China relationships will be on very good grounds. So that's a escape route that has been built into the language that was used by the US side of the trade negotiations. So my guess is that it'll be difficult for the US to get China to sell off the US operations of TikTok. Imagine if China says, sell me the Chinese operations of Google to a Chinese company. Well, that will not be acceptable to the US. Similarly, it will be very difficult to believe that China will accept TikTok being broken down and the US operations being sold off. It also has major implications in terms of how big tech will run in the rest of the world. I mean, the next step could be India asking for something similar, not just from China, but from other big techs in the rest of the world. Imagine India asking the US to break its Facebook and have an India version of Facebook. Well, those conversations are unacceptable in the long run, and I'm sure the US trade negotiators understand that.
All right, Jaideep Bhattacharya, I appreciate you joining us with your perspective on NewsX World. Now, United States President Donald Trump has said that he's ready to declare a national emergency and federalize Washington, D.C. if city leaders refuse to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. Trump claimed his administration has turned the capital from one of the most dangerous cities to one of the safest in just weeks. He accused Mayor Muriel Bowser of ending cooperation between the Metropolitan Police and ICE, warning that crime would come roaring back. Trump had previously deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to D.C. under an emergency order that has now expired. The United States president has also mentioned that he will send troops to other cities, including Memphis, New Orleans, Baltimore, and Chicago, signaling potential federal intervention if local leaders resist his immigration policies. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanar, former diplomat, is joining us live on the broadcast. Ambassador Sajjanar, what do you make of this warning by the United States president?
Well, it is very unusual, but with Mr. Trump, one can never say that anything is unusual. What has been happening so far also in terms of positioning federal troops in different cities, as has been done in Washington, D.C., as has been done in Los Angeles, and as you mentioned, there are threats of positioning them in Chicago, in Memphis, and the other cities. I think that has, in the past, never been done, but it has, in Washington, D.C., it was in August that these federal troops, about 2,000 of them, that they were appointed. And what Mr. Trump says that they have been instrumental in reducing the crime rates, and the city is booming as it has never done before over the last several decades. So this is what he maintains, but the mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, who's very popular, she's been elected 3 times consecutively from 2015 onwards as the mayor. She's the only African-American woman to have been done so. She has said that her forces, the police force, is not going to collaborate with the immigration and customs enforcement and the federal law enforcement personnel. So I think this is what has brought the two sides against each other. Trump maintains that she has been instigated and provoked. Bowser has been instigated and provoked by the Democratic left liberals, etc. And he's threatened that if the local police personnel don't collaborate with the federal agents and ICE agency, then he is going to impose emergency. So, it is getting the situation seems to be getting more and more stressed and tense, and we'll really have to wait and see as to where it goes.
Okay. Let me, in fact, quickly ask you then, Ambassador Sajjanar, also about, how serious you believe Donald Trump could be about implementing this national emergency. And also, he's mentioning that this is not just restricted to Washington, D.C. alone, but he's open to sending troops to many other cities across the U.S. if his immigration policies are resisted.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is because, he's come to power on the basis of resisting immigration, not pushing back against immigration. That is what he's been doing. And if he feels that, the local authorities and particularly the law enforcement authorities and the police personnel are not collaborating with his agencies, with the federal agencies, then he has threatened that he will send the federal agents and the ICE officials to other cities also, which are under the administration of the local authorities. So it is quite possible. As I said, he's done it in Los Angeles. He's done it in Washington, D.C., and he's threatened to go to other places, and then also to impose emergency and federalize those administrations. So I think the danger is very potent and very real.
All right, Ambassador Sajjanar, in fact, stay with us. We're turning now to more news coming in. United States President Donald Trump has reacted to the brutal beheading of Chandra Nagamalaya in Dallas, Texas. Trump has said that the accused, Yordanis Cobos Martinez, an illegal immigrant from Cuba, will be charged with first-degree murder and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The incident stemmed from a dispute over a faulty washing machine at Nagamalaya's motel. Video footage of the incident has been circulating on social media showing Martinez attacking Nagamalaya with a machete. Despite intervention by his wife and son, Trump has criticized the Biden administration for allegedly allowing dangerous illegal immigrants into the country and has promised to take a tough action against criminal illegal immigrants. He's also praised his administration's efforts to make America safe again. So strong statements being put out by the U.S. president there clearly. Utah Governor Spencer Cox has said that the suspect in Charlie Kirk's shooting, who had earlier been identified as Tyler Robinson, is not cooperating with authorities. According to reports, Governor Cox has also alleged that Robinson was in a relationship with his transgender roommate who was in the process of transitioning from male to female. Cox has also informed that the roommate has been incredibly cooperative. Kirk regularly expressed anti-LGBTQ views, but officials have not yet confirmed whether Robinson's relationship with his transgender roommate was relevant to their investigation. Further, the motive of the shooting remains unclear. Meanwhile, a memorial service for Kirk will be held on September 22nd at the State Farm Stadium in Arizona. The service is being organized by Turning Point USA, the organization founded by Charlie Kirk. President Trump, along with Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, are expected to attend the service. Further, prayer vigil has also been hosted by the Kennedy Center to honor Kirk, where U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson, U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard, amongst others, paid their tributes. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanar, former Indian diplomat, continues to be live with us on this big story. Ambassador Sajjanar, what is your reaction to how the investigation so far is progressing? authorities there saying that the suspect in custody is not very cooperative so far.
No, absolutely. I think this is, of course, a feather in the cap of the FBI that they were able to arrest the perpetrator of the crime, of killer of Charlie Kirk. But of course, they will have to find what were the reasons. And as you mentioned, he had a gay relationship with a person of the same sex, and this is something that Charlie Kirk was opposed. So they have to find the reasons as to why he sort of took such a step, and what the latest reports seem to be coming is that Tyler Robinson is not collaborating with the law enforcement authorities. So really, it will have to be seen as to how to, because there will be greater pressure that will be applied, and I guess even as far as the family, friends, acquaintances of Tyler Robinson are concerned, they will also be interrogated. They will also be come under the under scrutiny and under the lens.
Yes.
They will
Ambassador Sajjanar,
be,
also, your quick comment, because we're almost out of time, but a quick comment on the motive. The motive has not been established just yet, but this new angle emerging that this individual was in a relationship with his transgender roommate. Now, Charlie Kirk did have certain views anti-LGBTQ. Do you believe this could be a possible motive which should be looked at by the investigators?
Absolutely, because sorry, what has also been mentioned is that the family of Tyler Robinson, his father, he was a Republican. He was a Republican sympathizer. So as far as the family goes, maybe there were not any left-leaning or left liberal woke tendencies that the assassin might have had. But this could be one of the reasons, because Charlie Kirk was so staunchly opposed to all LGBTQ tendencies. And since he personally was in a relationship, and he's a young man of 20 plus, so he could have been got influenced as far as this is concerned.
All right.
And this could definitely have been a motive, but then the law enforcement authorities will have to do all the due diligence.
Yes. We'll be tracking this investigation closely. For the time being, thank you, Ambassador Sajjanar, for joining us with your perspective. United States President Donald Trump is all set to make an unprecedented second state visit to the UK on 16th of September. The United Kingdom is preparing to welcome President Trump. An extra-large Guard of Honour featuring 3 of Britain's oldest army regiments, the Grenadier Guards, Coldstream Guards and Scots Guards, are rehearsing in preparation for the state visit. Lieutenant Colonel Storm Green, captain of the Guard of Honours, has said it is one of the biggest he's led in his 20-year career. He said that President Trump will inspect the troops during his visit. Let's listen in.
Sure. So we are rehearsing for the state visit of the President of the United States, and we are the Guard of Honour that is going to form up in the quadrangle of Windsor Castle with 3 state colours from the Grenadier Guards, the Coldstream Guards and the Scots Guards to present to the President, and then he's going to inspect the troops as he arrives here in the UK.
President Trump will be accompanied by a group of US tech and finance executives. The delegation will include the NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, Apple CEO Tim Cook and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, amongst others. During the visit, the two countries are expected to sign a multi-billion-dollar tech deal, according to the British Embassy in Washington. The partnership will focus on key technologies, including artificial intelligence, semiconductors, telecommunications, and quantum computing. King Charles will host President Trump at Windsor Castle and will also give a speech in his honor at the state banquet in St. George's Hall. This visit comes as massive far-right protests have erupted in London, with over 150,000 people taking to streets in anti-immigration demonstrations. Trump has not yet commented on these far-right protests. Musk, who was once Trump's close aide, has called for the dissolution of the UK Parliament amidst the protests. And that's all the time we have for in this particular news broadcast.